my entry into everything was literally like 4.5 weeks. While I was learning it, I was starting to apply for jobs after like a week.
If you're trying to start a career in IT with no previous experience, this video is for you. Today, I have the chance to interview Nemesio, a course careers graduate who transitioned from working at FedEx to an IT help desk role without any previous experience. We're going to jump right into his story and how you can do the same, and be sure to watch this video all the way until the end so you know the exact steps to take to help you start your career in IT. And you don't need any previous technical IT or cybersecurity experience to do this. We can start with some introductions and also you
Yeah.
us about your background and how you got into IT.
So essentially, the way that I got into IT was I was actually working in FedEx for about 3.5 years. And it definitely was the most money I was making, but it was like 35K a year.
Mhm.
But I didn't have any skills to make anything higher. So in my mind, this was the most that I could make. And I was just comfortable in that for a couple years until I got injured, dislocated my shoulder, fell out of the FedEx truck.
Oh my God.
And yeah, no, it wasn't fun. The worst pain of my life. And I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go back to work, keep doing what I gotta do, you know what I'm saying? And in 1 year, I fell out the FedEx truck again, same exact way. And that time when I dislocated the shoulder, it was not good. Like the doctor told me that you aren't going to be able to use your shoulder anymore if you get hurt again. This can't get this thing is going to easily get dislocated again. You cannot do labor jobs. Like you need to do something different. And so I was on workers' comp and I really didn't even know what to do. I kind of just procrastinated for like the first 8 months until eventually the doctor was like, you can go back to work. But I was in no shape to go back and do those 12-hour days.
Yeah.
So on the last month of workers' comp, I started a program, but I only knew about this program because my friend had taken this. He disappeared for a little while, comes back, has an IT job, making like 60K at a bank. And I didn't know anything about IT, but he told me about like the CompTIA and he was telling me all about these different certifications you can take and basically explain you don't need a degree, you just need to take a specific certifications. You can kind of get yourself in there.
Yeah.
But he's like, there's one thing that I did take that you could probably just take that and you would be good. So he told me about the course careers program, and I took that, and I literally treated it like it was school or work.
Mhm.
So I had no job. I was hurt. So for 8 in the morning till 3 p.m., I was just doing everything I could, building my portfolio, learning all about, networking and just everything that comes with doing IT. You have to learn the basics.
And
And in about 2.5 weeks, I completed that course. And
that's really fast, right?
yeah, no, it was a lot of people ask me that. They're like, you, it took you 2.5 weeks to do this course, but at the same time, while I was in FedEx, I was always kind of, thinking about IT. And I had seen some videos, like maybe some Professor Messer videos, probably had seen some of your videos. I feel like the IT videos that get pushed are there's a lot of the same creators. So,
Mhm.
I'm just checking these videos out, watching certain things. So when I had nothing, I mean, I was back against the wall, living with my mom, like 26 years old. Like I was so down bad. So it's like I have to treat this like this is life or death. So yeah, I was going hard on that and while I was learning it, I was starting to apply for jobs after like a week. Like I was
Wow,
life or death mode. So I'm
crazy.
in my new cybersecurity IT job. I can explain a little bit more about how it's kind of a mix, but I've been in that for about 2 months now. And before that, I was in um, Disney for about 10 to 11 months. So now it's been about a little bit over a year, a year and a month since I've done all of that. And my entry into everything was literally like 4.5 weeks. Like It was
That's
crazy.
pretty insane. Because
Yeah.
it was also in the middle of like all the layoffs that were happening with a whole bunch of tech companies. Everyone,
And I was hearing about that.
yeah. And then a lot of people are saying that it's really hard to get into IT and cybersecurity right now. So, like, what do you think made the biggest difference when you were applying? Because applying after 1 week of taking a course, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, well, the gentleman, the genius that is like doing the instructor of the course,
Oh yeah.
his name is Josh Madakor, and he tells it to you straight, but explains to you how essentially this is an entry level field, and you most likely have the skills that already translate into doing something like a help desk. It's nothing too crazy. So he explained what you needed to say and what you needed to have on your resume, and essentially kind of how to build yourself into someone that could get hired. And I had did a little Google Coursera course
Oh
from
yeah.
IBM. So I had a little Google Coursera course on my resume. I had the course careers, had like 3 or 4 projects, and then I just had the skills that I was doing Active Directory. And I had, I did 2 years at a community college and I did not graduate. However, I put 2 years at that community college because I did go there for 2 years. So I mean, there's just little they probably think, oh, you graduated with your A. No, I did not, but I put it on there. So just little things, and but I was extremely prepared for any interview because they kind of built you that way. And what I mean by that is like I just wanted to learn how to do things and kind of build a skill.
Mhm.
So learning how to set up a virtual machine, and then in that virtual machine, instead of setting it up as like a Windows 10 or 11 operating system, set it up as like a server OS, right? And then set up another virtual machine, connect that one as a user, and then create Active Directory, and it's just kind of like making your own company in the cloud, and just being able to talk about that on an interview is really impressive because a lot of these people are just learning CompTIA and they
Yeah.
can't even talk about it. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people stop at just getting the certs and then their resume is literally just certs, but there's no actual technical experience or anything that a recruiter can be like, oh, tell me about that, you know? And I think that's the
Exactly.
biggest difference when you take a course that's hands-on like this. So when you're applying to jobs, were you applying to like the entry-level IT jobs? Because I know that sometimes a lot of entry-level jobs, you need 1 to 2 years of experience. So, like what kinds of jobs are you applying for and where were you looking?
Well, I was applying to every IT job because I have heard the success stories. I've heard the pebbles falling through the cracks, getting the golden ticket in the sewer. Like I've heard people get cyber jobs coming off of this and just building a portfolio and getting the chance to explain themselves. So I was applying for sysadmin jobs, junior cyber hero jobs. I was applying for obviously, I help desk, but I mean anything application analyst positions, um, just anything that I could get ChatGPT to give me a new title, and I'm trying to find as many to apply for. And I always tell everybody that in this field, at least especially in the climate that I was applying for, you need to be ready to apply for 250 to 1,000 jobs in a month. Some people might think that sounds crazy, but
Yeah.
with the proper system, you can definitely do that, and it's kind of necessary because it's just the way the job market and the way hiring works.
Yeah, I agree. I think I talked to a lot of people who maybe apply to like 10 or 20 jobs, but I know that's nowhere near enough, especially when you're entry level. But so you're basically,
Yeah,
even if a job has like years of experience requirements, you applied anyway.
yeah, yeah. Sorry. And to answer that question as well, those are wish lists. And see, a lot of people think this is a deterrent for a lot of people. And this is why actually it's easier to get in than you think because a lot of people think that those 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 year whatever requirements are needed, and those aren't needed. You just have to demonstrate the knowledge on your resume that would convey that you have an equivalent to that type of experience. But you don't have to actually have that. So, for example, someone that sits and works for 3 or 4 years,
Mhm.
they'll learn what they have to learn, but they're not really studying and digging it. So they'll learn things passively. But if you're doing something for 7 or 8 months and you're going crazy and you're learning, you can really demonstrate that. And in my case, I did it in like a month, which is probably pretty crazy, but um, yeah, no, it worked for me.
I mean, that's probably really impressive to hiring managers and recruiters too. You started applying like a week into the course, and then like what was the timeline for like starting to get interviews and ending up at Disney? Because that's a really big company.
I just call it like the backdoor way I got in to, especially to Disney, is because so I completed the course in about 2.5 weeks.
Mhm.
And after I completed that course, it took me 2 weeks to get, to do the job offer and everything. On that last day that I completed that course, I had my resume built, which I have to keep in mind, my friend had already completed the course. He had his portfolio. So I really just copied my dog's portfolio because we had just did the same exact course and he was cool with it. And I mean, it was beautiful. I just like copy and pasted the GitHub code, and I'm probably giving out too much game to people, but copy and pasted it. It's literally open source, and I just put it on mine. We had did the same projects, and so my portfolio was beautiful. Creating a ticketing system in a virtual machine from scratch, a Helpdesk one. It was through a OS ticket, and then just provisioning that, setting that up, setting up a server, and then I have the links to that where I'm explaining that on a document, which my friend was. But I went in and changed the words up and stuff. But I was bringing a lot of content. I had my LinkedIn, which I was just posting my thoughts and provoking questions and connecting with people. And in my mind, it was like There's no way that I couldn't get an offer. And it took me a couple of days to start getting hits. And the two jobs that I got were actually, or the two positions that I was going to interview for was actually the company that I work for now, and company called Accenture, which is a probably the biggest IT contracting company. And they actually help a lot of people get into like Apple jobs, Disney. You can get into Google through them because they're a contractor. And these big companies will go through Accenture to fill IT positions that they need. And that way they don't got to pay insurance on you and all that stuff. It's cost saving. So I was the only application analyst in Orlando, and I had all four parks, and I had backstage access. And the way that I could spin that to get my current position, like I said, the current company was also that I'm in right now was also a contender for my first position, but something happened with the recruiter, messed up the Zoom link. It ended up not working out. They thought I was a no show. So my company that I work for is called Kaseya. But so I ended up going with Disney, and it was a 12-month contract. And yeah, that's how I got my first one.
That's pretty insane. So did you apply
Yeah,
on LinkedIn or what job portals were you using?
everything, everything. Oh
Yeah.
no, I'm going crazy. I'm going crazy. I'm going on LinkedIn, and then I'm going on Indeed. But those are like the two big ones. Then I'm going on like Dice. Dice was a big one, and Dice is crazy because just a ton of contract positions that are in tech. Um, there's all sorts of other job boards where when you need to apply for a job, you'll find that job through some job board, and they'll make you make an account on that job board. And a lot of people are like, oh, I'm not gonna I'm just gonna skip or what. No, like I'm making an account on random job boards. I'm putting my cover letter, my resume. So I was really casting fishing lines everywhere. And I don't even know how I got reached out to by these two jobs. Like I don't know where I applied for them at, but I just know that I marked it, that I marked them in my little notes that I had.
How many hours were you applying to jobs? And at the same time, were you also preparing for IT interviews?
Yes. Yeah, no, I was becoming a monster. Like that's just how I had to think of it in my mind. I had to both become a really, really good at getting jobs, but also really, really good at preparing for this IT interview, this technical interview that's going to come up, and basically be really, really good at like displaying how I what I know, but like verbose and actually putting it into words and stuff. So, which is really kind of it's hard when you're first into IT, especially into it for a couple of weeks. You know, I'm still learning what an IP address is and what DNS means and all that stuff. So I yeah, so I studied and I would be studying to, making my portfolios and working on my projects. And then at this time I'm using everything. So, I'm going on YouTube, then I'm going and taking practice tests. So I'm studying all day, then taking practice tests. After I take my practice test, I'm seeing where I'm at. I'm applying for jobs. Then I'm writing like a notebook, basically my playbook for my job interview, because a lot of these job interviews are going to be like what we're doing right now. So I would set up on the wall, like you wouldn't be able to see it, but I'd have my notes on the wall taped. And then like during my interview, I'm killing it. Like I'm reading my portfolio. Like it's I was trying to set everything up to where, okay, I'm doing everything on my resume. I'm doing everything on my portfolio. I'm doing everything in my cover letter. I'm making everything spot on. And now I'm also going to have everything ready for when I'm doing these interviews. And my boss actually found my TikTok the other
Really?
day.
What was that
Yeah. Yeah, no, he called me in the office because we were talking about some stuff on like a problem problem case, trying to see if maybe we can finish it without having to escalate it. Found out we had to escalate it, and then before I left his office, he was like, "Hey man, so your TikTok," and he was like, "I was like, oh man, like I'll stop, I won't, because I just record myself in the office, but I just take video of myself just my head, I'm just typing for 6 or 7 seconds." And he was actually really impressed. And he was like, you know, I interviewed you, man. Like, you're so qualified. And, just the fact you came from FedEx. And I just don't think it had really hit him that, shoot, this dude that's in here crushing it. And like last week, I had the highest first day resolutions and the fastest closure time for our incidents. And I don't have a college degree, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of crazy how things work out if you just really apply yourself.
Does the course also help prepare you for the interviews that you did?
Yeah, yeah, no, they definitely do. They have like a whole module set apart to interviews, and it's got a bunch of interview questions that the instructor Josh, he'll basically go through and ask them to himself, and then he'll answer them, and he'll give you ways that you can answer every single question, and it breaks down how to answer a question when you don't know it, because I did not know every single question on every single time I was asked a technical question. But the way that I responded was like, okay, like, can you explain how how log analysis, or have you ever done log analysis in a job before? And I'll be like, no, but I'll kind of explain if I don't know exactly what it is, what logs are, how they're used, and then I can explain, and then just inferring what I think that would do, and kind of, and then this is what I would do to actually find out. And I'm also very capable of learning quickly and referencing online, and just basically making it sound like, listen, if I don't know the answer to things, I'm going to be able to find it out, and on the spot. Even with you right now, I can, and that's me talking to the interviewer. I can think quickly on the spot, and the interviewer will very much appreciate
I think you're like the ideal candidate for answering questions because this is a
that.
that I would recommend to someone who is just starting out. But
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
yeah, because not everyone can really think on their feet if they hear a question like that. They might think, oh, shoot, like I've never used an SIEM or I've never done log analysis. But the way that you go about it is basically answering from your experience that you already have and trying to make it fit, but also telling them, hey, I can pick this up like really quick.
It's very important that when you're doing a technical interview, that you don't let yourself get like stumped or let yourself get confused and then convey that. Because for my current job, it was a 3-level technical interview. So it was the first one with it was the first one with like the IT recruiter, and then it was my manager, my current manager, and then my manager that's in Rochester, and then it was with the director. And on the second round of technical interviews, they were actually asking me, they asked me a question that had nothing to do with IT. They
Uh,
were asking me a question that had to do with balancing metal balls and basically how I would work with the scaling. I won't get in depth with it,
those
but
tricky questions.
it
Yeah.
was an analytical question to
Yeah.
basically see how I would explain my thinking and not get confused and confuse myself. Then they were like, we're not going to give you all the sauce on why we do this, but we want to see that you can answer things and think out loud while also not confusing yourself, getting stumped, and that's super important. So that's why I think talking in the mirror, talking with annoy the heck out of people that you love, and just talk with them all about the things that you do and the things that you're building, and it's really going to help you be able to talk about that when you get into a job interview. And just make sure that you have the basics of kind of everything that you think you'd need, and the course that I took will let you know that, as well as just supplementing that with, if you have questions, go on YouTube. If you don't know what this means, look it up on YouTube. If you're like, oh, do I think I need to know Python, type it in. Do I need Python for help desk? You do not need Python for help desk, but there's a lot of things that you can figure out. Oh, I don't need this. I thought I needed to learn this. I only need this and this and this. And it makes it a lot more manageable. Whereas you're going and you're trying to learn everything in the world, and it's impossible. If you just kind of group it to a few main key things, it's manageable.
I agree. Yeah. And I'm sure the more interviews that you do, the more you realize like these are the key things that employers are going
Yeah.
to. But
Hmm.
going back to that question, when I first heard about people like giving these kinds of like brain teaser questions, I was like, there's no way that people actually do this. But I did an interview once that they also asked me this kind of question where like they're like, you have a pool and it's draining at like 2 liters per hour, but it's raining at like three, I don't know, inches per hour or something. And they're like, after 2 hours, how much water is in the pool? And I'm just like, bruh.
Yeah, nah, see, and
Yeah,
that,
people give
but
questions like that. It's crazy.
and they do that to stump you up, because they're trying to throw you something that you're not expecting. You're sitting there all tense, armpits sweating about IT questions, and then they ask you something like that, and
Mhm.
it'll throw some people off their game and show their true colors. It's like, no, 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 don't get thrown off your game,
Yeah.
because it's just a little bit of time that you kind of, even if you're nervous, you just have to kind of put up a front, and eventually you'll come into everything with some confidence too.
Basically work two IT and cybersecurity jobs. What does your day-to-day look like?
Yeah, so my day-to-day job right now, I work with remote monitoring and management. So, I did Disney, and it was really just like an IT support multi-tool where I went, I would be in a different park every day. And I'd really just, if there was something going on at park entry, Wi-Fi down, I'm there reporting, making tickets, sending that out, getting everything, letting everybody on the ground know what's going on. But that could be at merchandise, or that could be at a ride. So that's what I was doing. And I really didn't learn anything. But in my current position, for the three technical interview position that I had to pass, I work with a tool that essentially, I explain to people, it would be what hackers use. Think if you click on a bad link, they're going to put a monitoring agent on your device, most likely, and it'll run in the background, and you really probably wouldn't even know anything about it. But in this case, companies actually want that. Companies want a monitoring agent put on their devices. That way, they don't know anything about Bill's plumbing and oil. He doesn't know anything about IT. But Bill has two locations. His wife works from home. They have to secure their network. They have to, they might have technicians that go on the road. And IT networks are really easily accessible for people that don't know how to set them up and know about the basics, and also constant monitoring. And also just, if anything goes wrong, they don't know what to do. So these MSPs, managed service providers, will have these monitoring agents on their devices, and they can really monitor everything when it comes to auditing and running reports and pulling all the logs. So the company I work for is the host of that monitoring agent, and we have to make sure that thing is running. And it's pretty crazy trying to make that bad boy run right. But I get to dip my toes and you know antivirus and reading the logs, the antivirus logs, and all day I'm either responding to emails, doing chats. Very few times I'm doing phone calls, but I'm working a backlog down of incidents, and then I'm also trying to be live and answering oncoming chats about what's going on. And it's very deep technical chats because these aren't with the Joe's plumbing company. These are with the MSP that's running it. So I'll be getting support requests from the IT director of a company, or their cybersecurity manager, and it's people that are way over me in knowledge wise. So they expect something of us sometimes that I don't know, but it's great practice, and I'm learning so much that I can't imagine a year ago if I would have saw myself today. I would have been like, dude, you're crazy. So it's fun.
What are the main IT skills that you think would be most relevant to a role like this? Or like what do you use on a daily basis?
Best thing is understand how like a ticketing system works and just be able to explain that, because learning how to use everything and learning all the IT lingo is important, but actually learning how to use the tool that you'll be using on a daily basis. Like I use a ticketing system on a daily basis, and it's important to kind of display that and get your feet wet with that. Go create a Zendesk free account, make a free demo platform, just go test that out, and then explain that's what I do. And then explain while I'm doing that, I'm listening to Cyberwire daily in my headphones, or, I've got that playing. And I also listen to that. I listen to the daily threat reports, and, just explain. I'm also have a lab. I'm setting up a honeypot. So I just think what I did was I just overloaded them with everything. They would be like, oh, they couldn't talk because they were like, okay, so tell us about yourself before they finished it. I mean, I'm telling them everything. I listened to this. I'm setting this up. I made a website. I secured the website. It's got my blog on it. But then, I'll be like, I've got my portfolio on GitHub. I'm adding new projects on that daily. I tell them about the projects that I've worked on, tell them about the courses that I've done, tell them about all the things. I mean, it's just, you eventually can overload them. And that's kind of the way that I'd look at it. Don't just wait for questions to come to you during an interview. Just give them everything you got. And the people that got hired with me, that kind of did the same thing. So we asked, like, how did you, when you got hired, like, how did it, and some of these guys are smart. Like, they're gonna go far. And they're like, oh yeah, man, I've done like 40 projects, and I was explaining how I can't, over my head, but they were explaining some pretty cool stuff. And I was like, okay, so you just overload them. That's kind of what I did. So that's the best thing that I would do, is just try to do as many things as possible, try to do hands-on things, and then be able to explain that. And I think that'll really help you on the interview and on the job. The thing that I use a lot is, like I said, a ticketing system, but also just learn how to use cloud computing. I think that's cool. Like you can set up an Azure account and kind of go play around with that. And learn how to make virtual machines, learn how to set those up. That's like super important. A lot of times you have to do tests, and you can't test on maybe someone's environment because they're using it. So, they have a client that's currently using it. So you need to go play with some settings in your own virtual machine. And so, yeah, I'd say learn how to use ticketing systems, learn how to use virtual machines. That's a really good start. And then, you can start getting into learning how to read logs. If that's something, if I knew before I got in this job, oh my gosh, I'd be doing so much better. But, everything comes at your own pace.
So basically the biggest takeaway for those of you who will eventually be watching this video is to do a lot of projects and hands-on work, because I think that's definitely the biggest differentiator. If you're applying to like hundreds of jobs and you're not hearing back, the biggest differentiator is probably going to be the hands-on projects and all of the stuff that you're working on, because yeah, that's pretty insane.
Yeah, no, I have people on my TikTok that I'll post my LinkedIn on some videos, so I'll get reached out to. Like, had so many messages today, and the people that will send me their resume, I'll let them know, like, send me your resume. And it's crazy because their resume will be better than what I would have. Like, for example, Network Plus or A Plus, and they might even have a degree. But the way that they have it set is they have no projects at all. And I'm like, you're gonna get killed because people they don't want to see all that stuff. They want to see that you're hands on, getting your feet wet, getting your hands dirty in this technology. A lot of people can take tests, but can you actually use this stuff? You know what I'm saying? And then can you actually not be a weird person that can't speak with people? At least be able to, you don't got to be, you can be an introvert, but just, be able to do good during an interview. If you have all these skills, you need to work on your interview skills as well.
Just like one main piece of advice you would give to someone who has no experience, they don't know where to start. Like, what should they do?
All right. First thing that I would do is understand what the job is going to be. So first, just go and look at like some videos of a day in the life of an IT support, day in the life of a help desk. Get an idea of what the job's going to be before you do everything. That way, kind of, okay, this is what I'm expecting. This is what the end game. This is what I'm trying to get right. Once you see that it's not anything too crazy, then you'll be able to take a deep breath and then be able to tackle what you have to tackle. I recommend that you start looking when you start looking in the field. If you want to go the free route, I recommend looking on YouTube and looking at the A plus curriculum. However, not taking the A plus because the A plus itself is a monster. It's money, and you don't necessarily need that. If you want to and you have it, it's something that you want to do. You can do it, but the curriculum will kind of give you an idea of what you're going to need. Then once you start looking at the curriculum and you start watching some videos, I'd dive into a program, that you think fits for you. And, I would start learning. And they have programs that are like $10, $15 on Udemy. You can really find any type of program. I'm not just going to have the thing that I've done, but you can go up to, I don't recommend the $10,000 cyber boot camps and those things like that. No, you can find something for like $500 and get your feet wet, get yourself a certification, build your resume, build your cover letter. Don't skip that cover letter on Indeed. Your cover letter needs to be nice. It needs to have all the technical things that you've done, software that you've worked with, and then also like a little bit about you and kind of your aspirations and how you want to grow. They don't want people that are just like stagnant. Like IT is so evolving. You kind of have to have this type of explorer personality. So they want to see that you have that because a lot of times there's going to be a problem that like your boss isn't going to know how to solve, right? And everybody else is going to be working on problems. You might get a little bit of help in the documentation, but then it's going to come to, okay, like how am I going to use my tools to find out this issue and diagnose what's wrong, recreate this issue, and then figure out how I can solve this and make this issue go away. Sometimes that's hard and that's overwhelming. So if you start with being an adventurer and explorer and finding things out and how to do things, tweaking your own computer, tweaking settings, turn something off and turn it back on. Don't be scared. Like you're not going to it's not going to explode. You know what I'm saying? So like go and really play with things. If you don't know what something is, like if you don't know what registry editor is, developer tools, you don't know what that is, figure it out. Figure out how to use that. It's just two button presses and you can open up some pretty cool things. If you don't know what task manager is, figure that out. There's just things that you can go find out, and it'll make you like I won't say it will make you dangerous. There we go. It'll make you dangerous.
So thank you so much, Nemesio, for this interview. Could you also share like where the audience can find you, your TikTok, your YouTube channel, your LinkedIn?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sandra. I am at Big Bro Tech, and like I'll send you over the links and everything, so you can put it in the description. But Big Bro Tech is my YouTube as well as my TikTok. I like to put out daily content on TikTok. Guys can get a feel for my personality. I'm a tell it how it is person. I'm not the person that's gonna like really do things the long way and really just be slow at things. I'm really like I'm charging forward. I'm really trying to push the boundaries, push myself out my comfort zone. So if you guys want to follow that journey and also me giving you tips on the way, like check me out over there at Big Bro Tech. And I appreciate you so much, Sandra. Thank you.
Alright, so for those of you who watched all the way to the end of this video and are inspired by Nemesio's story and his entire path for starting a career in IT with no previous background, and you want to start your own career in IT, there's no better time than now. Sign up for Course Career's free intro course, and you can also get $50 off the entire IT course by using the link in my description. IT help desk roles are still one of the most sought after roles in tech, and it also happens to be one of the easiest to get into as an entry-level professional. Starting a career in IT can really change your life for the better, especially when it comes to different career opportunities, whether you're just interested in moving up in your tech career or eventually transitioning to another role like cybersecurity or software engineering. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to join our Discord channel where we discuss all things cybersecurity careers, certifications, courses, etc. And feel free to also connect on LinkedIn. I post cybersecurity resources and career tips in more real time on there. If you liked this video and found it helpful, please consider liking and subscribing as it really does help out the channel. And hopefully I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.